Welcome back to my 68th episode of the Impact Show. So this show is all about facing adversity and making the impossible possible. I've interviewed founders, venture capitalists, and leaders of the new frontier in deep tech, national defense, AI, cancer research, you name it. And I'm really honored today to have Ryan Kriser, who's a general partner at Type 1 Ventures, come to Southern California to talk a little bit about the space economy, the space industry, which is something that is on the top of mind of so many people. Where space was a year ago, it seemed like it was like more about just traveling to space and experimenting with space, but it's breaking through to every single industry sector. So we're here today to talk a little bit about that and to pick your brain and to get your background. And speaking of your background, can you tell our audience who you are and how you got into this?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you, Sinan, for having me here today and to your organization, Internet Marketing Association. My name is Ryan Kriser. I'm a general partner at Type 1 Ventures. It's been quite the journey. I haven't always been in venture capital. My career started about a decade ago. Right out of university in 2007, I was working for a family office, mainly in technology investing. And then I ventured out into the private wealth management arena. Was with a few companies, Stifel Financial, Oppenheimer. And during that time, I managed to build a book of business and learn about portfolio management and what it takes to get that gut feeling about what separates a good investment from a great investment. 2018 is when I decided to follow my own passion, which is in the space investing arena. I had been following SpaceX since 2002. And during this time in 2018, they had just launched the Falcon Heavy with the Tesla Roadster on the top. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I've done pretty well in traditional finance, and I think this is going to be a great industry. I started Helios Capital at that time, which was a hybrid family office venture capital firm. Just thinking, if I invest, a little bit of my own capital, I could maybe change the world. And what happened was I was disappointed in the way venture was going. It was mainly just investing in software companies that made human lives more convenient, like dog walking apps or food delivery services. No one was focused on hard engineering problems. And then here comes along Elon, who didn't really know anything about the rocket industry. It just goes to show you that even if you don't know something or you didn't have prior experience in something, you can learn it and you can apply it in a different way that nobody else was thinking. So there's this huge opportunity for SpaceX. It inspired me. And now I'm with Type 1 Ventures. So it's been
And how'd you go from Helios to Type 1? And tell us a little bit about Type 1's thesis and what makes you guys different.
Yeah, so 2018 started Helios Capital. 2019, Type 1 Ventures was founded by the founding partners. His name was Tariq Waked. Him and I were investing in a similar deal together. Probably the closest investment partners that one another have had throughout the course of our careers. Was formerly advising him for the past 7 years. So Type 1's thesis, if you're all familiar with the Kardashev scale, it's a 3-part scale, 1, 2, and 3, and it's based off the amount of energy output that a civilization can create. So Type 1 being the entire output of your home planet,
right.
Type 2, your home star, Type 3, your galaxy. And so we invest in innovative breakthrough deep technologies that will propel humanity towards a Type 1 civilization.
Awesome. So let's unpack a little bit about the business side, the economy side of space. You've heard of all these human voyages for space tourism, right? Virgin Galactic. And then you hear about some of the missions that are happening with SpaceX. But it seems like the orbital launch economy has just exploded. I think SpaceX is at 2 a week. We were with some of their executives the other day, and they have a very bullish outlook on the type of quantities that we're going to see in orbital mission. And that's just SpaceX. Jeff Bezos is also making a strong entry to the B2B side of space. Why is the economy all of a sudden exploding in space? And can you unpack that and where you see some of the greatest business opportunities in the sector?
Yeah, of course. So we have a little bit of a perfect storm here. And one of the primary drivers that we've seen is cost. So now that cost has come down, so SpaceX launch cadence, I believe it's at a daily launch cadence at this point, or it's fast approaching. I think they're already on pace to set another record for launch cadence this year. So every time they launch and they reuse, they have the ability to decrease that cost. And the lower that cost goes, the more things we can do in space. And the next phase of this space economy is developing a full self-sustaining ecosystem that's taking place in low Earth orbit.
Right.
And then we're going to have a lunar economy and then Mars. But if you want to focus on the near term, in orbit, we're going to see really big investment opportunities in in-space manufacturing, research and development, logistics and supply chain.
And so talk a little bit about that conversation you and I had the other day. You had unpacked so many things that I forgot is run off of space. And you started reminding me of all the things from just basic navigation in our cars. Can you just unpack that for our audience that might forget all the things you do on a day-to-day basis that's driven off the space economy?
Yeah, so probably the most well-known thing is in your pocket at this time, and if that's your phone. You wouldn't be able to do all of the things that you do on your iPhone, for example, without the space industry. Your
Right.
GPS, your position, navigation, and timing, which is extremely important for financial transactions.
Right.
And then, of course, like on the material side, you have things like Velcro. You have in medicine, MRIs. You have in communications, laser communications that have been developed in space. So just the mere fact of us being in space and then
Right.
going to other harsh environments like lunar and Mars, in order to survive, we will develop technologies that we can't even comprehend right now.
Right, right.
And then that will be the greatest export back to Earth. And then that's where you unlock the most economic value, is that import back to Earth.
Right. And so as part of the frontier, national defense is one of the biggest sectors that you cover a lot with your thought leadership, the thesis at Type 1 Ventures. Can you talk a little bit about how Golden Dome and the defense economy rests on space and where the future is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for instance, GPS and the internet, those were all military programs that eventually worked their way downstream to the American consumer. Right now, defense is playing a really important role in the space industries. A lot of these early stage companies that we invest in, the government is often their first customer, their first and most important customer. It's funding the R&D, and it's providing early revenue that's non-dilutive. So it's funding that development of these companies. I mean, eventually it's going to have to be dual use and dual purpose, and then commercial as they get older it's going to be a larger percentage of their revenue basis.
If you think back when I was a child, space was all about curiosity. And I think as adults, like that curiosity is still embedded in all of us. We look up in the skies, we see clouds, we see blue, but we know that there's this infinite volume of space that's above it. And for the first time, we're actually capitalizing it as an economy, but it's also fulfilling that curiosity in our hearts on what is up there, what's beyond there, how far can we take this, how far can we go to Mars, can we do modular nuclear on the moon. These are conversations that are becoming realities. A couple weeks ago, I hosted Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio, and it wasn't a typical fundraiser. He went straight into how space is a open market. And I'm always curious, like I look at real estate, I own houses, buildings, things like that. Everything is spoken for. Every single territory of land is spoken for. But when you look up at space, it's the wild, wild west. Can you give me your perspective on how governments and countries are going to govern their piece of space?
The military.
Okay.
Same way it happened in the late 1800s. We expanded out west. We had a military, we had an army. We had to protect the national interest, not just of the government, but of citizens that were setting up shop, homesteads, various businesses all throughout that journey to the west.
Right.
And if you think of lunar and you think of low Earth orbit, it's the ultimate high ground. So there's going to be a military presence, not just to protect national interest for the nation, but also for private businesses. Because if you can't protect and hold certain pieces of real estate from your adversaries, then it is going to be the Wild West.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting perspective. I totally agree, and I think it's on the minds of a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are trying to participate in the space economy. Speaking of the space economy, what sectors, what verticals, is it semiconductor, healthcare, is it all that you're most bullish on in the trillions of dollars that are coming into the space industry?
Infrastructure. So it's all going to be about orbital manufacturing, logistics, supply chain. Think about research and development in low Earth orbit from both a material sciences and a medical perspective. That is the next stage or the next phase of the space industry, is creating a full self-sustaining ecosystem in low Earth orbit that derives the most economic value that's brought back to Earth.
I also think what's super interesting about Type 1 Ventures is the diversity of portfolio companies that you have. Can you go through a few of them? Because they're some of the most interesting companies in the world that a lot of people have not heard of.
Yeah, you want me to stick to the space or?
Yeah, space, deep tech.
Yeah.
Space and deep tech.
So yeah, we invest in space, AI, robotics, advanced manufacturing. Some of our notable space companies that we've invested in are Axiom Space. Gravitics is really interesting. So Gravitics, talk about dual use case for both government and commercial. This company started out with the idea of building or manufacturing modules for orbital space stations. So they would be the manufacturer to companies like an Axiom, who's an operator, like a VAST, like a Voyager, who now has a joint venture called Starlab. So Starlab is going to be their space station side of the business. So on the commercial side, they have the space stations. Since this administration has come into power and has made a mandate for the Golden Dome program, there's been a lot of talk on, well, what types of companies are going to provide products and solutions that are part of that program? And Gravitics fits nicely in there because they can take these modules where they're 8-meter modules. So they're meant to fit on an entire payload bay of Starship. And they can fully customize these for different purposes. The pivot here and the near-term revenue opportunity, which is Golden Dome, is to take these modules, create these, think of them as giant orbiting garage units that you have in space. And you can place them strategically all over the place. And you can put anything that you could think of inside of them. You can put anti-missile defense systems for hypersonics, for you can even put military equipment. So let's say you have a situation or a conflict anywhere on Earth and you want to be able to send something down really fast. You know that you have something already in orbit that can go anywhere in Earth in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes.
And I'm also curious on space congestion. So with all these orbital missions, we just started partnering with Privateer. They map space and you see all the nodes that are just floating out there. A lot of them are inactive. Can you give your perspective on what space junk is like? It reminds me of plastics in the ocean, right? Like you can't see it, but you know it's there. Is that pollution really a problem, or is space just so big it doesn't matter?
It can be a problem. I mean, if you think about the surface of the Earth, if I have a car and I'm driving in Africa, what are the chances I'm going to get into a head-on collision with you driving in North America? But if you look at the annual launch cadence and even the daily launch cadence now and the amount of satellites that are going up yearly, there's going to be more and more things that we put into space. So traffic management control is going to be extremely important. Think of like in aviation, how we have air flight traffic control for all of the various air flights throughout the day. That's going to be an extremely important opportunity for investment in the space industry.
Correct. So space travel, we talked about at the beginning of the interview. Is space flight for tourism going to become a commoditized world where you can book a flight like Uber? Are you going to see this continue to grow? Is this an industry that you're looking at?
Launch is certainly going to become commoditized. Space travel, if we think about like point-to-point travel, like an airplane, the things like that are going to fund the infrastructure. So it certainly plays an important role. It's not everything, but it will become commonplace in the not too distant future, especially with Starship coming online. You'll be able to travel anywhere on the planet within 30 minutes. It's just building out that infrastructure for that specific launch purpose. Because you can't, right now there's no launch pad to return to in, say, Asia or Australia.
So I'd love to kind of wrap this interview up with a couple perspectives, just your personal advice. I mean, we have thousands of entrepreneurs that subscribe to the show and watch. We all face adversity. We all face lights out, you got to keep punching, while you're down. It all looks good on the shiny object on the outside when we get dressed up, when we do our work. But the reality is entrepreneurs are all fighting a war. What drives you when the lights are out and everything's against you with what you're doing in your business?
Yeah, so not only is entrepreneurship extremely difficult, so is building things that go into space and keeping them up there and ensuring a sustainable business plan.
Right.
What keeps me up at night? You know what? Not that much keeps me up at night, Sinan. Other than my excitement for where the industry is going.
Right.
I mean, our founders that we invest in, they're always on my mind. So where can I help them the most?
Sure.
It depends on the specific situation. But that's what separates Type 1 ventures from a lot of these other venture firms. Like we take a hands-on approach. We get down and dirty with the operations. Like I talk to our founders on a daily basis, and knowing that they have us on their side and they can tap into our network.
Right.
It keeps me up at night for the sole purpose of me not wanting to stop working, because all of this stuff gets me so excited.
It's purposeful.
It's purposeful.
Yeah. My last question, space 10 years out, what does that look like?
Space 10 years out. So I think by the 2030s, we'll have fully functioning lunar bases. We'll have in-orbit manufacturing at scale, and we'll even have nuclear energy in orbit.
Wow. And I know we've been talking to Isaiah Taylor, who's been on our show, and he's a great partner of ours as well. And the modular nuclear reactor side of the things, you look at how many nuclear reactors China initiated just in 1 year. It was 100-fold of what we did. Yeah. And that's powering a lot of innovation, AI, data centers, warehouses. And we have to compete in the energy race as well. And I know that's tethered tightly with space. This has been a delightful interview, Ryan. And I say this sincerely. You've come into my life. You've helped our business. You've helped everyone in our industry. It's been an incredible partnership. I mean, our wives are friends. We're friends. We got kids around the same age. And the culture in your company is undeniably one of the best. I go into Type 1, it's a family. It's a business, but the way everyone respects one another, the generosity, the treatment, that's another dimension to success. And it's something that I continue to, learn from you, like some of these great things that you're doing. You've also been invaluable with Mar-a-Lago and, some great access points for us and our community, and it's been an incredible partnership. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank
you. I'm looking forward to continuing that.
Same here.
We're going to host Impact 26 back in Washington, D.C. next year. And then I've traveled the world now with Ryan, and we continue to support him as well with his initiatives. And I thank you for being with us today.